Welcome back to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated. He's an NFL staff writer there, and he's a former beat writer for the Rams for the OC Register. Gilbert, it's been a long night. We stayed, and we were able to, have the live pick of the Rams picking Jared Verse. Just your first, now that you've had some time to kind of digest it here, what are your thoughts on the Rams picking Jared Verse?
Yeah, they definitely filled the need here for at the edge rusher position with Jay Verse, and it wasn't like a reach pick. Sometimes when you need to fill a need, you got to be aware or weary of the just reaching and just being desperate. Okay, we needed to fill this hole here, so we get this player. But we've been saying all along since whatever February, the last few months, that there's like a big three for edge rushers: Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, and Lealtu Latu. And a little debate about Chop Robinson or Darius Robinson. Actually, all five guys were first round picks. So,
Yep.
to get part of the big three, that first tier group, I think the Rams came out well. I don't know how high Jared Verse was on their board because, for a bit they looked like they were sitting pretty because the first 14 picks were on the offensive side, but then Latu was the first defensive pick at 15 to the Colts. Number 16 was Byron Murphy, the second out of Texas to the Seahawks, which kind of hurts for the Rams, but they still feel the need. They still got a top player. So I like the way they played it here. They didn't panic. They didn't trade up or trade down. They made a pick at number 19.
Yeah, and I mean, the draft board kind of worked in their favor. Yes, did Byron Murphy not fall to them? Liatu Latu not fall to them? Yes, that didn't happen. But in terms, I mean, we saw a record today of offensive players being picked in the first round. I mean, the first, what was it, 12 picks or was it
14.
15 picks?
14.
14 picks were all offensive players. So that tells you, where this draft kind of went. And for the Rams to be sitting there at 19 and getting to choose Jared Verse, one of the, as you said, one of the top three um defensive ends in the board there. I thought it was a really good pick. You brought it up. You kept saying, hey, they need to take care of edge rusher in the first round. You were right. And then, it wasn't a guy we picked that we thought would be there for them. We thought maybe, they'd have an opportunity to have Liatu Latu drop to them. But as we talked about during our live stream of the draft, Gilbert, I thought that Liatu Latu, over the last couple of weeks has kind of risen up. And I figure someone would take him early on, and it was the Colts. And I thought that was a great fit for them. But in terms of here with the Rams, I like this. I like the fit just because you need, pass rushers. And we talked about the fact that, especially now with taking what they've done in free agency, I really like the fact that they prioritize defense first. And now with all the rest of the picks you have, you can continue to fill, to be able to fill with players that you need, with depth at defense.
Yeah, with Jared Verse, he might not have the upside as a Lealtu Latu, but he doesn't have the injury concerns, and he's a little more like he has a little more weight. Yeah, I feel like with Latu, he's a little more slim, a little skinny for the position, but he has good bend. He's very athletic. So that was the thing with Latu. He has a lot of moves to get around, and he knows how to utilize that athleticism. Like Jared Verse seems like a guy who's in between. Like he has the power, he has athleticism, and maybe he's not as polished as a Dallas. Like Dallas Turner was the most ready edge rusher in the NFL, but he didn't have the upside of Latu. Jared Verse seems like he's somewhere in the middle. Like he has
Yeah.
a safe floor with some good upside. And also maybe the upside is pretty high because I was doing some background on him, and he started his career at Albany for 2 years. He didn't even get a offer from one of the big schools. He played tight end, or not. He played. Yeah, he did play tight end. He played. I think he might have played basketball a little bit too. So edge rusher is pretty new to him. And when he broke out his second year at Albany, he got 30 offers in the transfer portal. So people started catching on with him. So the last couple of years at Florida State, he was productive. Imagine with more time to really polish his game. I like the tackles for loss. I like the sack. So being a guy who makes impact plays with upside, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, as you talked about, 18 sacks at Florida State in his 2 years there, 29 and a half tackles for loss. So it's someone that you're, not only can he pass the rush the passer, but he's also plays the run really well when you have 29 and a half tackles for loss. But I wanted to share something here, from Eric Williams, our compa. He was able to be on the Zoom, and he got this video for let me try and pop this up here. This is my first. I'm trying to produce
No,
and
go ahead. By the way, while you're working on that, I see tweets coming out from Rams beat reporters that Sean McVay made a joke. I told you guys we weren't going to go offensive player, and he went defense. Everybody kept saying it's going to be offense, and
yeah.
I guess Traeger did not get it right
No, you
on
you
that
you
one.
know we were wrong about that, but here we go
You
with
know,
Jared.
to attack your first question, I watched a lot of time with Aaron Donald. At my time at Albany, Coach Gattuso, Greg Gattuso at Albany, the head coach, he coached Aaron at Pittsburgh. So we got to get on a Zoom meeting with him during COVID, and I got to pick his brain a little bit. I asked him a couple questions that actually helped me elevate my game. And the biggest thing I took away from the questions I asked him was he said you only need a huge arsenal of moves. If you have a couple good moves and you execute them to the highest level of your ability, you will destroy everyone. And just aggression beats everything. So there's a couple of lessons I learned from him. But filling up his role, that's a hard role to fill. That's big shoes to fill. That's an out of this world player. That's a once in a lifetime Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. That's one of the best players to ever live. But to be able to, be in the position where they expect me to come in there and be able to fill that role, that's something I'm ready for. Pressure makes diamonds, and I love pressure.
There you go. Oh, here we-
Yeah, I like that in terms of picking Aaron Donald's brain, having a familiar coach that I guess Albany coach Aaron Donald at Pittsburgh. So that's a good way to get started in LA. And I just like what they're doing on the defensive line. And I think we kept hinting like, well, Leslie likes edge rushers. He really values the position. He kept trying to go for Brian Burns. He drafted Byron Young, in the third round last year. So, hey, maybe we shouldn't be surprised that his first round pick in a very long time since 2016 is an edge rusher because that's a position he highly values. So, hey, Kobe Turner in the middle, you got Byron Young, and now you got Jared Verse. They're building something special there on the defensive line. They might need one more defensive tackle to kind of round it out, but they're doing well. That was a position that what could have been better a year ago.
Yeah, and just kind of going off that video, he was just Jared Verse was talking about how, a few years ago he was on a Zoom call with Aaron Donald that was set up by his when he was at Albany, as you talked about, with his head coach Craig Gazzuto, who coached Adano at Pittsburgh. So that was pretty cool of him to have that connection with Aaron Donald. And I think the thing that I love the most is the fact that he's not scared of the pressure, Gilbert. I saw, I don't know if you saw some of the comments, after our video posted from last night, but some people were like, "Why are you bringing in Byron Young if he's going to put all that pressure on that kid to fill, Aaron Donald's shoes?" And honestly, you want guys who want that pressure. I mean, you're going to be playing in a market like Los Angeles. And then the other thing that it kind of reminded me is the type of defensive ends that or edge rushers that the Rams have. Leonard Flow, he has the same kind of body type, unless you've seen otherwise, Gilbert.
I was looking at Dane Brigler's scouting report. He compared him to Dante Fowler, another former Ram player. So, yeah, he fits the mold, and but also I just like that he's well rounded. Like he has power. He has a good enough tools. He's athletic enough, and he has upside. So, again, I was looking at Dane Brigler's scouting report, and I just saw that Jerry Rice was number 2 edge rusher on his big board behind Dallas Turner. So hey, we said he could be part of the top 3. People had differently, but some people had Latu, some people had Turner. It seemed like Verse was always number 2 to these two guys here. So I think somewhere in the middle again feels right for him.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just good to see that the Rams are prioritizing defense. And as you said, Sean McVay made the joke that, hey, they didn't go with the offense; they went with the defensive guy here. And shout out to all the Ram fans who said, hey, we need to go defense. The pig is going to be defense. And it was funny seeing the comments too. Just people saying, no, the Rams are going offense. No, it's going to be defense. So there was a lot of just because and the other thing too, Gilbert, that we have to keep in mind this was the first time the Rams had picked in the first round since 2016. So a lot to kind of for the first time a lot of Ram fans being able to, get to see a first round selection after, 8 years.
Yeah, I'm going through all these notifications from the Rams beat reporters. Gary Klein making a good connection here. The last time Leslie made a pick, the guy's name was Jared Goff, and then here we are with a Jared Verse. So he likes to
Yeah,
pick
there you go.
guys named Jared.
Yep.
And then Sarah Barshup from ESPN said that the Rams didn't have any private workouts with Jared Verse. So again, they like to keep a secret there, and
Yeah.
they
Yep.
watch the film instead of having a workout.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of tells you, Gilbert, that that's one of the things we talked about the fact that Rams like to keep things. Like I said, one of the things, people said, oh, they're going this and they're gonna do this. We don't know with the Rams. They don't have any players visit. They like to keep things, close to the vest for a reason. And every time people think that they know what the Rams are gonna do, they never do what everybody expects them to do. Like, as we saw, there was, guys, quarterback being mocked to them. You had defensive tackles. At the end of the day, it also depends on how the draft board falls to you. And for them, Verse was there, and so they took, the best available, edge rusher for them.
Yeah, for wide receiver, I know people kind of were like, buying into, oh, it's going to be an offensive player. They're going to trade up, and I just don't see them going wide receiver in the first round because of the success they had in the middle rounds with Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup. Like they know they could weigh, and then you're starting to see it. You saw in the back end of that first round, teams that really needed wide receivers drafted wide receivers. I'm like, who are some of these guys? But because people need wide receivers, and maybe it's like a desperation kind of time in the late in the first round, but you're gonna see more wide receivers coming off the board, and maybe they get one. But it wasn't a pressing need. It wasn't something
Yeah.
that you really needed with Puka Nakua being a star. Maybe Cooper Cup being healthy, could do something or better than he did last year. To put it that way, maybe they could have got a tackle, but a bunch of tackles went off the board. I didn't keep track, Victor, but I think we
I
will get
think
there.
there was nine. I remember I said,
9, yeah,
right,
10,
I said 10. You said
yeah.
7, so we were right in between.
I don't know if they're counting the Washington kid as a guard or a tackle, but I know I just saw on ESPN had him as a guard. I'm like, okay, man, I thought he was a tackle or he could play both.
Yeah.
Whatever. But he was the next pick after the Rams took Jared Verse. I want to say Troy Fotano from Washington. So maybe
Yeah.
they felt he was more of a guard. And you know what? F it, let's go here with the edge rusher because he fits a need and he's a good player. Obviously, we talked about maybe like a Quinion Mitchell or Terry Arnold. They went a little later. So to me, at the end of the day, they still got one of the best players, on the defensive player on the board, sometimes it's better to fill a need with a top best available player, and I think the Rams did that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault them here. I think, one of the things that I saw from the reaction right away from Ram fans when we were doing our live was that people were really, they were happy with the selection. It was either going to be Jared Verse or Chop Robinson. Chop Robinson went a couple picks later
Yeah,
after that, so
Miami.
to Miami. So it tells you that it was probably in the war room there is probably between Chop Robinson and Jared Verse. So and they probably like Jared Verse a little
Yeah,
bit
and
better.
then Darius Robinson, who I thought would be made for a second round option for them, went in the first round too.
Yeah, and one of the things I saw with him is that they might use him as a defensive tackle as well. They can use him as a five technique. And we'll see what happens with that. But that wasn't the selection. Like I said, he was one of the guys that was in the green room, which was I was kind of surprised that if
Yeah,
he
he
was
knew
gonna
something.
yeah, if he was gonna last, till the second round, I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad. The one thing I did not check, and I know this doesn't concern the Rams, but did all the guys who were in the green room go? Were they all drafted in the first round, as far as you know?
Do not know, but I think all the big names, I guess, like besides, I think we saw it in the comment, Johnny there, he's still available, but most of the big names
Yeah,
that we got familiar with the last few months, they're off the board. So that's why
yeah,
the last 5 picks, I'm like, some of these wide receivers that went to the Panthers and the 49ers, I'm like, I don't really know these guys. So
yeah.
I think everybody in the green room is okay.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, Gilbert, let's get to the comments. And all good things says, hopefully they trade up in the next round and pick Johnny Newton or Jerson
That'll
Newton.
be a good one too. Remember, we kept saying either some kind of combination of edge rusher and defensive tackle going 1-2, and you get that, you're looking nice for the perfect Rams draft.
Yeah, and then the worm says, after watching verse highlights, I feel good about him. Looks like a powerful guy that will just push Lyman into the quarterback. So, someone else who really liked the pick there. But Gilbert, one of the things I wanted to get into as well, since we're probably going to be on for just 30 minutes here, it's only one pick, so there's not a lot to get into. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but what do the Rams do now in day two with picks number 52, 83, and 99? Which way do you want to? And let me give you some names that are still available, by the way, defensively, since I think that's the way the Rams are probably going to go, is they're just going to keep drafting on defense. You got, guys like Johnny Newton. You got Brandon Fisk, who was a guy I brought up as a defensive tackle. You also have Chris Jenkins as a defensive tackle. You have some linebackers, Junior Colson, Payne Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper, and then there's um two cornerbacks in Kool-Aid McKinstry
Yeah.
and Cooper DeJohn. So
Mm.
there's some players available.
Wow.
Maybe
That
they
could
get
be
turned.
one guy who didn't get to the might have been in the green room, Cooper DeJean. I'm not sure, by the way.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing his name, but maybe I thought Kool-Aid McKinstry, but I don't think so. I think it was just Terrion Arnold and Quinion Mitchell.
Mm. Yeah, no, the first three defensive tackles that you mentioned, if the Rams come away with one of those guys, they're sitting pretty with the first two picks there. I'm all about them adding more talent to the defense. Again, a year ago, they were okay with getting by with inexperienced defensive players because you have a great coach in Raheem Morris, and you had one of the best players of all time, Aaron Donald, in the middle there. Now Aaron Donald's gone, Raheem Morris is gone. You needed to get better, and the Rams took care of the secondary with Cam Curl, Tre'Davious White, Darius Williams. Maybe Kobe Durant does something. Maybe Deion Kendrick does something. We don't know about the youngsters there, but they have something there. They need help for Ernest Jones, who was a stud Mike linebacker. Maybe you could get another one to help him out, or he's in a contract year also to maybe to replace him. And you got to fill that need with Aaron Donald. I love Kobe Turner, but people kept saying, well, like, well, if you draft Byron Murphy the second to fill the void of Aaron Donald, that's a lot of pressure on the kid. Well, they don't have to do it alone. Like it's Kobe Turner and whoever comes in. So maybe it's a Johnny, is it Brendan Fiske or Fisk. They do it together to fill the void. It's not one person, and then you still have Jerry Verse, you still got Byron Young. So definitely either I'm with a linebacker or an interior defensive lineman should be the way to go for me. But I would not be mad if the Rams go for a tackle. They got to start worrying about that because Rob Havenstein is older, and you're just unsure about Alaric Jackson. And you saw what happened with Joe Noteboom. That didn't really work out either.
Yeah, and I could just see the Rams going and looking. I know we brought up the kid from Yale, but those linemen who aren't from a big school, guys who not a lot of people talk about. Like nobody was talking about Puka Nakua last year, and then they drafted him, and and we've seen what's happened. So I think that's part of the situation here, especially with those three picks that they have in day two. The other thing, Gilbert, to kind of keep in mind is they can package some of those compensatory picks, move up for like a Cooper DeJohn, Kool-Aid McKinstry if they want to continue to add to the secondary. Because we don't know what Tre'Davious White is gonna do. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, we don't know what to expect. We don't know. I mean, he's on a 1 year contract. You still want young guys to fill in case he does ball out and he's gone in a year. So you want to continue to add pieces. Just because you're good in one area doesn't mean that you don't continue to add to it.
yeah. Cooper DeJean would be a nice pick for the Rams too. I think that would be a big home run pick because he's so versatile. He could play in the slot. He could, play on the outside. Could play safety. And as we know, the Rams, when Brandon Staley was around, when Raheem Morris was around, they're big on that star position. The star position is all about being versatile and doing a lot of things. And Jalen Ramsey did that well. They tried having Kobe Durant do that. It didn't really work out. Maybe he just wasn't ready for the moment. But a guy that versatile could definitely fit in the scheme. I know it's Shula is now running the show, but I'm sure he'll still have uh, things that are similar to what Raheem and Brandon Staley did.
Stevan says that Jared Verse was wearing a flannel just like the one Gilbert is wearing tonight.
Nice.
So I guess it's flannel season, and yeah, we're in April.
Yeah, we were thinking alike, and I knew the pick's gonna be Jerry Burst. It's just I forgot to mention it.
Yeah, all good things is giving us a name to
Oh,
keep an eye on is Enos Rickestraw.
yeah,
So
Missouri kid. Yeah, it's another
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's still a lot of talent out there. So,
yeah,
for the Rams, they're kind of in a similar spot, right? They're picking 19th in the second round, 33, 52, right? My math is right.
yeah.
So they're kind of waiting, but maybe this could be the part where they get a little aggressive for some of these players. They do have two third round picks right there. So they have 11 picks total. So I think that's tied for the most in the NFL, right?
I think someone has 12, but
Oh,
now with the Bills kind of trading out
oh yeah,
twice,
yeah, yeah,
they're probably in the running as well. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I've kind of been saying is that with those 11 picks, I don't think they make that many picks. I think they'll try to package some of those and try to get, try to move up either in the second or third round. But it's just something to kind of keep an eye on. I like in the position that the Rams are in, especially, with the three picks, and we'll see if they stay put. I mean, I can see them moving up and, um, especially if you can, trade up for like a Cooper DeJean. But I'm gonna guess that Cooper DeJean, you're gonna see him go, right away
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
He might be one of those players that I feel like every time there's like a player who should have gone in the first round, they usually have a team get them like trade up right away in the second round to get those guys. And I think we saw it last year with Will Levis and what's the Porter's kid? I'm blanking. Joey Porter
Yeah,
Jr.
Junior.
They trade up. I want to maybe was Michael Mara trade up. I forget.
Yes, it was a trade up as
So
well.
second round players who should have been in the first round. A lot of teams trade up, so maybe the Rams could do that in the second round.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And then the worm wants to know, what do you guys think about Ian Rappaport's reporting that Stafford has demanded more money? News broke at almost the same moment as
I didn't
the
even see that.
Rams pick burst. I didn't even see that either. But what do you think if that is the case? Let me
Uh,
check. Let me
huh.
check.
Yeah, let's double check on that. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff that comes in during that period. But if it is true, then he did play pretty well, and he wants probably some security. I haven't really looked at his contract to see if there's an out coming out. If there's an out in the next 1 or 2 years, and he probably wants to have security. I don't know if the Rams should do that because he is an older player. But if you're gonna have some leverage, it is right now because he played so well a year ago.
Yeah, I don't see anything here. I guess he says, Stevan says, Stafford asked for a restructure, more guarantee money, not necessarily
Oh.
more money. So there you go.
Okay, maybe he wants the money up front, things like that. So, we'll see.
Yeah, for cap reasons, and we talked about this earlier a couple of weeks ago, Gilbert. Yeah, no, it's not. It's the worm. It's not a weird timing on the report. It's just that's the reality of it. That what ends up happening, and this is one of the things we talked about, Gilbert, is that depending on what the Rams want to do. One of the options is going to be trying to restructure two contracts, Gilbert. It's either going to be Stafford or it's going to be Cooper Cup. And I think the most logical guy is Stafford, just because he's making so much more money and they're able to kick some of that money, back, especially now with getting some money back from that Aaron Donald retirement and the restructuring. There's
Yeah.
also that goes into it. And part of it too, the other thing you have to keep in mind is that, you know, during that story that that we talked about with Jordan Rodriguez and the vice president, the guy who runs the money there for the Rams. The way the thing he said was, right now we're not planning to restructure. That wasn't their thing. But like, let's say they want more money in case they want to trade for a player, because now that the trade deadline has been pushed back a little bit, let's say they want to go after more players after post June 1st draft. That's when that kind of money comes into play. You're able to restructure and you can get more money under the cap. And so that's where you're kind of, they're not tight roping it after the trade white um signing, but it also gives you some flexibility, Gilbert, and I think that's where the report comes into play right now.
Yeah, and then I guess maybe Stafford's just offering, hey, if you want to move money around and I get paid earlier, I'm raising my hand. Maybe that could be as simple as that for the reporting there. And you're right. Maybe they got to gear up because once you make your picks in the draft, you kind of have a better idea. Okay, we might need this, we might need that. We didn't really address that and that. So let's move because maybe is there something that could be a tackle they need or something if you need a wide receiver if you want those players cost a lot of money.
Yep.
So it's always good to have some security for the trade deadline too.
Yeah, and the things you always see that I'm always like, and I always think about it because you'll see teams that will start cutting players to your, post June 1st, right? And then you also see them, restructure contracts, and you're like, well, why do they have $10 million? Are they planning to go? And some of it is because they just want to have that flexibility because, especially now, I thought it was really important, or one of the things that was really interesting from that article from Jordan Rodriguez was the fact that you're kind of seeing that the effects of the trade deadline being pushed back because now if there's teams that think they're in it for a playoff run, you can go and spend that money that you need to have that cap flexibility to be able to go trade for a certain player. So I just think those are the kind of things you also have to kind of keep in mind as to why some of these players get restructured. And as you said, this is we're not even in the second quarter when it comes to the off season because first it was free agency, now we're in the draft. Now comes the next couple of rounds. All that money is already you know locked in for the Rams. The draft money of what they're gonna have to
Yeah.
because all that money's already slotted in. Now comes like those post June 1st. How do they want to spend that money filling out the different issues that they have along the roster?
Yeah, no, it's all about planning ahead, and right now everything has been accounted for the NFL draft, and we'll see what happens the rest of the way, and then you'll get a feel for what they really need. But hey, the Rams have been doing pretty well with the draft. They got the 11 picks this year, and people get too caught up on the first round pick. Like there's a lot more picks to go. Maybe people are freaking out. Why didn't you feel get a tackle? Why didn't you address interior defensive line? Well, and I don't think a lot the Rams fans seem like they're freaking out about Jerry Verse, the pick. I know people with the Chargers fan base are freaking out about Joe Alt, but it's a long process. And then after that, we'll see what's the next stage in terms of post June 1 and the trade deadline.
And Deborah Sagado says restructure to get Hendrickson. So
There
I
you go.
mean,
You could be ready for that.
yeah, you never know. I mean, there's guys that become available. I doubt that the Bengals will trade Hendrickson. He just wants more money, but one thing you can be certain of, like we said, we never know what the Rams might do. But in terms of being aggressive, that's one thing you can expect from the Rams. They'll be aggressive, especially right now where they know that they're not gonna sit back in making the playoffs. They want to make a run now, and they want to make a run at the division. And to do so, they're gonna oh, there we go. That's a good question, Gilbert. All Good Things is asking, what grade would you guys give today's draft? Now, is it for the Rams or in total in terms of the first round of the draft for how it went? I'm
I
sure
want
it's the
to.
Rams.
Yeah, I'm sure it's for the Rams, but I will go a B plus. I can't give it an A because an A I probably would have been like a Latu or not even Latu, but like a Byron Murphy. But I just felt like okay, it's a good pick. It's not like oh wow they got that player, so I can't give it an A, but a B plus to me seems about right. Again, maybe it doesn't have the highest ceiling, and I don't think he's a safe pick either. He's gonna be a quality player. He could definitely. He's a player that I feel like could maybe make an impact right away. I just don't know. Do you want to have a Dante Fowler in the first round pick, or do you want to have like a Max Crosby? I just don't know where he falls in that tier. But we're gonna find out soon. And they feel the need, and he's a player who seems like he's ready to go right away.
For me, it's B. And the words you said, it fills a need. I think that's why for me it's a B. Had they gone and maybe gotten a Dallas Turner or a Layatu Latu or a Byron Murphy, I would have said it's an A. But you get the third guy off as the edge in the 19th pick. That's a B for me. I think that's something that that you kind of have to take and say, you know what, that was pretty good of them to get that player at number 19. We expected them to trade back, perhaps, but they didn't. They stuck there for the first time since 2016. So I would give it a B as well. And then we
Okay.
have our guy, Stream Shaft. He
Hey,
said,
from
"Evening, great time down at the draft." So,
nice.
Extreme, were you at the draft tonight in
Yeah,
Detroit? Let
yeah.
us
He
know
he's a
how it
lion.
was.
He's a Lions fan. I remember
Yeah,
him. So
yeah,
probably in his backyard and hanging out. It looked pretty cool. I know I was
yeah.
watching on my phone most of the time because we were doing the live show. But every time they shot the camera went over to the fans, I'm like, man, it was just packed and crowded. You see everybody wearing the blue and silver.
So he was down there. Yeah. So there you go.
It's
Okay,
pretty
good.
cool.
We're glad. That's pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure it's a great memory. That was one of the things that that you think about in terms of bucket list, Gilbert. I It's become way too big now, but I really wanted to go to Radio City Hall, like back in the day when it was in New York. Now that it kind of gets moved around, I really don't care. But when I was younger, I used to think about like that'd be a cool
Yeah,
trip to go take to Radio City Hall and watch the draft, especially because it was inside and not outside.
yeah. Eventually, they got to go back. Maybe like
Yeah,
do this tour for like 4 or 5 years and then go back to New York.
yeah, they
But
should.
yeah,
And then all good things before we head out, but it all takes two to tango, and it seemed nobody wanted to trade with the Rams to move up. So, yeah, he's right.
yeah. Yeah, I guess, there wasn't a lot of like, wild picks because, I guess we saw the Vikings and the Jets, but that was a swap there, from 10 to 11. The Vikings, went up from 23 to 17 for their second first round pick. It just didn't seem like a lot of movement. It was a predictable draft until Michael Penix Jr. went to the Falcons at number 8. Overall, like it wasn't that chaotic to me, to be honest, but
And it
it,
went pretty fast.
yeah, until we got to like after the 12, 13 pick, and it felt like forever for the Rams pick. But the first 12 and 13, it seemed like people were already set on who they wanted.
Yeah, true. The worm wants to know, speaking of planning ahead, what are your feelings on the current running back roster? Think we'll draft a running back in the later rounds?
I don't think we see one tomorrow. I think they'll worry about that in the middle, like day 3.
Wow. Yeah, I think. Sorry, I just saw a stat. My bad. No, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think somebody brought this up, and I'm sorry. Oh, it was Payo. I think Payo was like, "Hey, what? Will the Rams draft another running back? Because that's been a tradition now for
Yeah,
the last couple of years. And everybody wants that running back from Estime, from Notre Dame. So
yeah,
we'll see. Maybe they go and they draft another running back. You never know. You can never have enough running backs in this offense. I feel like it's like with the Shanahan offense and the McVay offense. You can never have enough running backs because eventually they're going to get hurt. It feels like.
yeah. It seems like running back probably won't. First running back won't be taken into the third round. I can't remember the last time that happened. Like a first and second round running back not being drafted. So there's a lot of talent, like we were mentioning in the second round. So I think running back, especially if it's a weak class, and also a lot of running backs, veteran wise, got paid in free agency. So third round, fourth round, but it's not a big need for the Rams. Obviously, I like Kyron Williams, and I've been very vocal about him having his injury concerns, and you gotta get some help for him, but not with the second or the two third round picks. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I mean. It's just not a need. I think you want to make sure that you take care of the defense for the majority of your picks in this draft. But we'll see. Yeah, Zach Evans is still on the roster. That is right. Here, let me go through these comments real quick. The main take from this draft is that there wasn't a many stars worth moving up for. I would have probably traded up for Byron Murphy or Liatu Latu, but I understood. Like, just let the draft come to you, and that's what the Rams
Yeah.
did.
Maybe that says something too about the Rams draft. Where they're like, Murphy and Latu are not really worth it. They knew that the Seahawks could have gotten a Murphy. They're right there, and they didn't move up. So maybe that says something about they trust the scouting report.
There you go. You're right. As Stream Shaft says, they had 270,000 people there at the draft, which is a new record for day one. I think the
Wow.
record before that was Nashville. I remember Nashville had a bunch of people there.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of people, and it looked like it on the camera, on the TV at least.
All good things says Penix pick shocker of the round. I Yes,
Uh,
Gilbert.
Honestly, I remember the TV broadcast on NFL Network talking about this scenario an hour before, And everybody on the set was like, "Why are we wasting our time with this? They got Kirk Cousins. Like this was a story in February before free agency. And the second that Kirk Cousins arrived, like Penix won't be the option. Everybody had Dallas Turner penciled in for the Falcons at number 8. So I would call it a shocker, especially because he went ahead of JJ McCarthy. All that smoke for JJ being a top 5 pick, this and that. But at the end of the day, it's like I just don't get why you spend 100 million for Kirk Cousins. And I get it. Kirk Cousins hasn't won crap and since he entered the league in 2012. So you want to protect yourself, but you paid the guy, so you don't have the rookie contract, benefit. And also, you won't even utilize the rookie contract because Michael Penix Jr. is going to maybe sit out 1-2 years. Who the heck knows? You won't even know if you have a guy on your hands because he won't play right away. So I don't know. It's just don't get me started with Penix pick and
Yeah.
the Falcons, but that was definitely a shocker for me.
Yeah, and I mean, it just keeps getting worse with the fact that they didn't even let Cousins know or his agent
Yeah,
know that they were making the pick. And it kind of reminds me of the Washington days where the owner made the RG3 pick, and then the coaches made the pick for Cousins, and now it looks like it's the same way where the owner was the one that paid Cousins and the coaches drafted Penix. So I feel bad for Raheem Morris. I mean, you just went through that, and now, or maybe it was all planned. Who knows? But yeah, that's for the Falcons to worry about. We're talking Rams here, so let's get to our guy here, Evan Holtz. He says, "I'm glad the Rams got through today without spending extra capital. They still have the rest of their picks for tomorrow and the next day." So
yeah. 3 picks tomorrow on Friday, and we'll see what they do with them. Again, those two third rounders and those two third rounders could be something for them to move up tomorrow.
yeah, Stevan says Murphy seems like a tweener, not athletic enough and not big enough. Kind of like a Michael Brockers type. I
Mm.
remember Michael Brockers. And then he says Kirk Cousins should demand a trade to the Raiders could work. That's a lot of money
Yeah,
that you're trading. I mean, they already have two quarterbacks there, and Aiden O'Connell and Minshew. It just sounds like a mess, but who knows? Maybe they, I wish Raheem Morris the best just because he did a great job with the Rams. But at this point, it just like this is what happens when you have owners, trying to meddle into what you're doing, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong and that's not the case. Maybe,
yeah.
look,
Or at
I
least trade back if you want if you're so committed to this quarterback.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Get some extra picks, and maybe they thought he wouldn't be there. I would have thought him. Who knows? Maybe the Broncos take him there at 12. Who knows? It just seemed like it was just a weird. It. I as I brought up a comment, someone said, "I don't care what happens the rest of this draft. The Falcons are getting an F from me as a draft grade." So
yeah,
yeah. But Gilbert, day one is in the books now. The Rams have finally selected a player in the first round for the first time since 2016. They
yeah,
picked another Jared, so now there's two. Last time they picked Jared Goff, now they picked Jared Verse. So now we get ready for day two. Just give me like a quick minute. What are the biggest needs now for day two for the Rams? What do you like to see? Don't give me a player, but just give me positions that you like to see filled in the next three picks.
yeah. Definitely interior defensive line. Again, I don't like when teams reach for a need, but it is a need, and also there's still players available. Like we mentioned, Johnny Newton. You mentioned Brendan Fisk or Fisky. We got to figure that out. And I wouldn't mind if it just. I guess to keep it simple, keep focusing on defense. You got to add more talent there. There's no Aaron Donald. There's no Raheem Morris. Get some help for Ernest Jones. Don't neglect the secondary just because you added pieces, veteran pieces in free agency. If Cooper DeJeans are available, go ahead and get that guy.
Yeah, I would too, just because as you talked about, you've mentioned it. I think either I forget if it was Eric Williams or if it was Tyler Dragon who said that, you know, one of the things is that you're replacing like a Jalen Ramsey, and then Cooper DeJean can play that Jalen Ramsey role, especially in this defense if Chris Shula is running it.
Yeah,
I think that would be a good one. But before we go, the worm actually this reminded me of something, Gilbert, and the worm says need a kicker, another Janikowski. So I have a little bit of update. Remember how we were talking about that kicker from the UFL,
yeah,
and we said, hey, Can they talk to him? What's the deal? So NFL teams have already gone to the Michigan kicker and try to get a hold of him. It is illegal to get a hold of him. They're not allowed to
Wow.
talk to him. Now, the thing they can do is they can talk to the coach, which the coach is not he's not happy about the fact that they're coming around trying to talk to the kicker. Apparently they've already tried to get through the kicker by going to his agent, which is also illegal. So some teams really want that kicker. Maybe the Rams are waiting for the
Mm.
UFL season to be done, and they'll try to scoop him up. But yeah, he's kicked some 60-yard field goals. So keep an eye on the kicker from Michigan in the UFL. I think his last name is Baker. So just something to keep in mind there as well.
Well, if they want to get one in the draft, looking at Dane Burglar's top board for kickers, first time looking at it, Willie Richard from Alabama, grade 5th round pick, so maybe not tomorrow for a kicker. Cameron Little, Arkansas, 6th round pick grade. So maybe wait for day 3 for the Rams to potentially take a specialist.
Yeah, and then we got Dano who sent us an email. Jenkins, defensive tackle from Michigan, who's available. So that'll be someone to kind of keep an eye. Maybe that's where they go with their second pick there, Gilbert. But yeah, like it's been a long first night, but I'm glad this was fun. We got to do a live. We had Charger fans and Ram fans, and we were able to get both the Chargers pick and the Rams pick at number 19. So it was great to see people on there, Ram fans talking, on there, and Danny, whether it was Daniel Calderon, whether it was I'm trying to remember everybody that was in the
Dano
chat.
on there.
Yeah, yeah, Delbert was on there. So just and then everybody that checked in with us, Dano, the Worm, Steve on, Extreme Shaft, as always, Delbert Sagaro. Honestly, it's been awesome to see, the community grow. Because of the video we did, we got like 10 extra subscribers. We're up to
Nice.
935. So 65 more to go. And we get to that Puka Nakua jersey. We don't have a keyword for that this time, but keep it locked in. And I'm gonna leave it up to Gilbert to see if he wants to do another show tomorrow. If he's down for it for a quick show tomorrow to kind of go over the 3 or whatever picks the Rams make, we'll check it out.
Yeah, we got to figure that out. But if not, we'll definitely catch up on Wednesday and review everything. But it's been a long day. I can't even think right now
Hey,
for
look,
tomorrow.
he's 9:38.
Hey, okay, thank you. Keep
Yeah,
keep
we
increasing that to get to 1,000. Got to give away this Puka Nakua jersey too.
Yeah, we got to give it away. So there we go, Gilbert. But it's been a long process here in terms of getting through the first round. But now the Rams have made that first round selection, as we talked about, for the first time since 2016. Now let's see what they do in day 2, and I'm ready for it, Gilbert. So go
Yeah,
ahead and close us out here.
let's get out of here. It's been a long night, and I think a good night for the Rams. They came out well with Jared Verse here, number 19. Didn't have to trade up, didn't trade down. There was a first round pick for the first time since 2016. Jared Verse is going to be paired up with Byron Young there and Kobe Turner in the middle. So we'll see what that brings for 2024. But on that note, ya nos vamos. Pues vámonos.